Welcome to Loansanddrones, and today we have a special guest, the man, the myth, the legend, like he always likes to say, Alan Stern. Let's go. Alan, welcome. How you doing?
My day was going good, and now that I'm here with you, it's going great. How's that?
I love it. I love it. You always start off with something great, just like the car video that we did that kind of went. A lot of people were talking about it after we shot it together.
It's a huge success, man.
Yeah, it was just an iPhone.
For sure. I just want to turn it back to you and say grateful for the opportunity to be here today with you and chat with your audience. So thank you for the opportunity.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I've been dying to have you on the show because of the fact that you just are a natural in front of so many people. I've seen you on episodes with other podcasts. And the biggest question I have for you is how do you get up in front of so many people and just look so natural?
I really appreciate the compliment for starters, but when you know that you're delivering value, you have a reason to actually get up there and share your message. And what's even more rewarding than that is knowing that you've actually made a difference in somebody's life. So, these speaking topics that I talk on are do-it-yourself marketing, leveraging AI, so now the little guy can market themselves on a shoestring budget. So super relevant topic. And I love the following week after any of these speaking engagements to just see the social media presence of the attendees and see how things change.
Yeah. How do you fill a room like that, though? That's the hardest thing to do is to throw an event, number one, put an event together that big, and then also to fill it. How does that work for you?
So here's the ongoing joke in my life has actually come full circle. 15 years ago, I started a DJ company. Before there was the DJ, there was the nightclub promoter. So 15 years ago, I was saying, it's going down Saturday night, 12 o'clock, be there, be square. Now I'm saying, it's going down Tuesday morning at 7:30, be there at be square, learn about marketing. So my life has gone full circle, but the biggest thing though, is people go to my events not just to learn, they also go there to network. As somebody who's tapped into several different Chamber of Commerces and networking groups throughout the years, one thing that all of them have in common is they're all looking to meet more people. The thing is, many people join a networking group here or a chamber and just focus in on that area, and they don't really venture out. And when you could be the source in the central hub that puts everybody in the same room and deliver some sort of education, it's a win-win.
So what you're saying is a two-parter. One is an education piece that it helps people to brand themselves, and then two, to create a network experience for people to meet other people.
For sure. There has to be a reason that somebody gets up super early in the morning, drives across town to go to one of your events. That reason could be, hey, you're going to learn about blank, or it could be, hey, I'd like to go and meet people. If you can combine the two, and most importantly, show that you've done big events in the past, it becomes a lot easier to sell. That's why one of the best investments you can ever make is media. Yeah. And again, grateful for the opportunity to be here with you and get some more content.
That's awesome. Yeah. So what's the biggest event that you've put on so far?
Last July, I did a speaking engagement at Bellworks. About 150 people showed up. And the topic was how to become a content machine using AI.
Wow. Do you ever get nervous?
I do. But it's one of these things where as soon as you're up there, I'm not going to say it goes away. But when it's a friendly audience that you've invited, it's a heck of a lot easier than going in cold because you know that there's a common denominator there that everybody wants to get better.
So I was in communication when I was in college, and I got into becoming a TA, and that was one of the things. We tried to figure out what the source of nervousness was for the person. Sometimes it could be just one individual out of 150 that show up, you're like, oh my gosh, that person is there. Or 150 people entirely. But what you have the gift of just speaking, number one, and number two, you have the gift of looking natural, like putting something together that is authentic, that people can relate to, and is simplified to make people's brand, grow.
The thing is, it didn't always start off like that. I will never forget 2009 when I DJ'd my first wedding in front of 200 people, and I had to announce the bridesmaids and the groomsmen. I almost had a heart attack. Because if that's your first experience really being on the microphone and you mispronounce one person's name, everybody's going to look at you and you can cut the tension with a knife. So, the reality is over the years, just got better and better and better. If you ever want a good laugh, back when I was in the car business and I started doing videos about 12, 13 years ago, go on YouTube and type in Alan Stern Jennings Chevrolet. Dude, some of these videos I used to do way back when, cringe. I look at them right now and I'm like, I can't believe that I actually put this out there. But, you know, the thing is, nobody really starts off good. Everybody sucks in the beginning. But one foot in front of the other, you just suck less and less and less, and eventually you get good at it. So no matter what it is, just keep showing up.
That is huge, because I look back at some of the stuff I've done. I'm like, and even to this point today, you know, where I look at some of the stuff I've been doing recently, I'm like, oh my gosh, I hate what I said, I hate what I did, the way I looked. I mean, there's so many people out there that cannot stand it. So I've gotten to the point where I just don't even look at it. I just shoot it, forget about it, and be done with it.
It's a great strategy, by the way. I did the
I
did the exact same thing back when I was selling cars, and I would post videos and shoot them. I would just put it out there, whatever. I did my work for today. I'm not looking at it. I'm not critiquing it, but we got it out there. The other thing, though, is not everybody watches the full clip. If you're just showing up on social media, that's half of the battle. Half of the battle is getting noticed, but the other half is getting remembered. And one thing I love about, you know, what you do in your brand is you use a lot of humor, and humor is what gets people to remember.
Yeah.
Because when people laugh, they tend to remember what made them laugh.
Oh,
and if you can do that on social media, which is a platform that most people go on to be entertained, way ahead of your competition.
Nice. Well, let's make us laugh. Do you have any jokes?
I do. What kind of car drives on water?
I don't know.
A Jesus Chrysler. I read that on a popsicle stick before I got here today. You know what? As a matter of fact, I was going to dress casual, but, you know, 4th of July is right around the corner, so I figured the picnic tablecloth look would go good.
He's on a roll now.
Buddy,
You're on
the
a
dad
roll.
jokes.
Don't forget your napkin.
Don't forget the matching napkin, exactly. Do we have a laugh track over there on the media? Alt F4, Control Alt Delete. Oh, love it.
So let's go back to entrepreneurship. Did you always have that natural gift of being an entrepreneur, or did you learn it from some place? Or explain to people how you got into being who you are today.
Happened completely by accident. It's one of these things. Here's the interesting thing about, you know, the marketplace and the world that we live in is, at the end of the day, people exchange money to solve problems. Plain and simple. You know what? The problem that a chamber of commerce solves for small businesses is the fact that they all need to grow and expand their network. So what does that have to do with entrepreneurship? Well, as a young kid, I used to go to a lot of nightclubs. And what happened is I compiled a massive, massive library of music that most people had never heard of. Now, I ended up buying a set of turntables at a pawn shop. You know, that's a whole nother story. But where am I going with this? Is what ended up happening is my business journey as a DJ started by accident, because now I had a set of turntables and a huge library of underground music. So what do? Naturally, you call your buddies over and say, hey, check out my new toys. Check out the sound effects. You can scratch on them, do this, that, and the other. Now, the problem that a DJ solves is the fact that people have events and they have parties. So word gets out now that I'm a DJ and I can actually bring the party to somebody. So back when we're underage and house parties are a thing, you could either hope you get invited to the party or you could get paid to play the party. Now, I looked at that, I'm like, hey, that's not a bad exchange. Fast forward a little bit, I was working in Woodfield Mall at a place called Brookstone, which is just like Sharper Image with all kinds of cool stuff that nobody needs. I would usually, working part-time, make somewhere about $200 to $250 a week working there. And I never forget, I had somebody that said, hey, we're throwing a block party. I'd love to hire you to do it. And I got paid $250 to DJ a block party. So I'm thinking to myself, all right, so work a full week in the mall or make the exact same in one day by getting paid to blast music, and I can eat as much as I want. So where am I going with this is the fact that now all of a sudden I'm a business owner in my teenage years by accident. So nobody starts off with a huge elaborate setup up front. Little by little by little, you know what, you start here and you upgrade your sound system, you upgrade your microphone, your lights, and then next thing you know, you're doing weddings, and I just never gave it up. And the thing is, over the years, what started with a $300 set of CD turntables that I bought at a pawn shop has morphed into a full-scale DJ business where I do, you know, high-end corporate events and weddings.
Wow. So you started with a hobby and it morphed into a business.
Correct. Started completely by accident.
That's awesome. That's kind of what happened. So that's the reason why we call this Loans and Drones, right? Because I actually picked up a drone as a hobby, liked getting the aerials of all the different houses and different landscapes. Next thing you know, I started falling in love with it and started doing this for real estate agents. And then the problem there, though, is people called me for drones and they called me for loans. So I didn't, and there's nothing wrong with drones and the drone business, but it was overtaking the loans. So I had to reverse that kind of drones and loans to, hey, look, I'm loans first and then drones. So that's where this whole podcast came up. So it's good to hear that somebody can actually fall into entrepreneurship just based off a hobby. So if you absolutely love something and you want to show people, that's the start of a business, which is awesome.
100%. And I'm completely convinced a lot of times in life, the best things happen by accident. My DJ company started by accident. I got into the car business completely by accident. So here I am, I'm a teenager, I've dropped out of college and I'm living at home rent-free at 21 years old. My life goal was to get paid for blasting music. So my dad had to have a pretty tough conversation with me and say something along the lines of, son, it's time for you to get a real job, otherwise you're gonna need to find a new place to live. So I found out about this place called Jennings Chevrolet that was hiring, and I figured, all right, I had some minor sales experience because I've worked in the mall, and I grew up playing Gran Turismo, which is a racing video game if you're not familiar with it. So here I am in the car business, I get hired, and I thought it would come easy. Dude, I sucked so bad at that job that I was almost let go several times within the first few months.
Really?
Because the way that you sell a $100 or under product at a retail store, totally different than the way that you sell a car. I knew how to deliver a product on the DJing side, and I knew how to sell something small, but I didn't really have the composure to listen more than I talked. And that's the biggest thing about big ticket sales, is because you're selling the relationship. So again, I don't view failure as failure because there's no bad experience, there's only learning experiences. So eventually I just got to collect all of this data in the process, learned what not to do. So I knew how to sell. An opportunity presented itself to move into the luxury world in 2016. And I knew a lot about sales, but nothing about marketing. And that's where I started getting really involved in the community, in Chamber of Commerce's, in networking events. And by accident, what happened is I taught myself how to market without spending any money. And from there, I said, all right, well, I can either go to an event and meet 5 to 10 new people, or I can host an event at the dealership, which had a beautiful space. That's actually how you and I met, because
Right.
I hosted the Real Producer DuPage event where 100 plus people went, and then here we are, you and I get connected. So then you take that and you compound it and you say, well, where can I maximize my exposure? Speaking engagements. You can either go to an event, meet a handful of people, or you can do a speaking engagement on a topic that benefits everybody. In my case, before I retired from the car business, my speaking engagement topics were do-it-yourself marketing. So look at this from a networking standpoint. I can say, hey guys, in front of a room full of 100 people, here's a skill set that all of you could benefit from learning that I happen to learn by selling cars. Oh, by the way, call me should you need a new car, just drop that in, and now I'm in front of a massive amount of people instead of going to the event. So that actually started by accident. One event led to 5, led to 20, led to 70, and I retired 3 months ago from the car business, and now I do it full time.
Wow. You don't hear too many car guys talking like that. Like
You do not.
sales in cars, it's, I mean, we all know this, that when somebody walks on a lot, what's the typical turnover like with regards to somebody buying their first car or buying a car for that matter? Like you gotta sell them right there on the spot. So doing all this exterior stuff was probably new news to the car dealerships, right?
For sure. Here's what I've found, and this applies to a lot of different areas. Most people who are really good at sales struggle in the world of marketing, because the people who get really good at sales usually focus in on one thing, and that's how can I improve my closing ratio and say something when the customer has this objection. Now, what's interesting is you could be great at sales, but it's not going to do you much good unless you create opportunities to sell. Now, your marketers, on the other hand, that know the advanced stuff, the paid advertisement, the SEO, the sales funnels, all of this, you're talking about really, really smart people that know advanced stuff. And smart people trying to explain advanced stuff usually goes over the masses' head. So what I found is most salespeople struggle with marketing and most marketers struggle with sales. So if you can learn both, you got a leg up on your competition.
Yeah. What did your company say when you approached them with that?
Well, as a commission-only salesperson, it doesn't really cost them anything outside of a chamber membership. You know what? Did I get support? Yes. You know what? They allowed me to host events at the dealership and whatnot. And, you know, did I see instant results? Absolutely not. It took several years of, for lack of better words, banging my head against the wall before I saw any sort of payoff. But here's when I really noticed it, is when COVID happened. We go from a transactional industry that in the car business we say turn and burn. Sell them as many as you can, as cheap as you can, just to hit the volume. To now all of a sudden, COVID happens and the entire country is rattled. And now the prospects are saying, who can I actually give my business to that I know, like, and trust that's going to give me the support? And that's probably how you and I got connected, because when we first met, you're like, hey, I don't really know Alan that well, but he seems like the kind of dude that will literally roll out the red carpet for me.
Yeah, so that's funny you should bring it up, because I was literally just thinking that. Like, I bought a car from you, and it didn't start with me walking on the lot and just meeting you randomly, because I'm a relational guy. So where you and I met was at a Real Producers event. There's a plug for you, Andy. Real Producers event at Lexus. And then your hobby, which you were using to attract people and build the music base there, was an attraction to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. You're doing this event. Plus I was attracted to the fact that you were up in front of all those people sounding so natural. And then you had this cool gift of how to mix, and that's how we connected. Boom. So you used about 3 different elements there, which was space, speaking, and the sense of music too, to bring in that energy. And so that's how he and I met and wound up buying a car from you. So there you go.
Appreciate you, man.
Plus, you're funny. You got good. You got good jokes.
Here's the thing, though, and let's just talk some math for a second. At the end of the day, you could be great at sales, but there's only one of you, and there's only 24 hours in a day. So unless you have a team, you're simply capped by time. But if you take the relationship route, which you clearly do, which is why you have a massive social media presence and you're top 1% in all loan officers. If you have, let's just say, 500 satisfied clients that know you, like you, trust you, have done business with you, anytime somebody says the word mortgage, or in my case, the word car, you're in 500 different places at once. But the only way that you're able to pull that off is by truly having your client's best interest in mind, because it's not what you say, it's not even how you say it, it's how the client feels when they receive the message. And when you truly authentically focus in on, leaving somebody better than you found them and just adding value, they feel like you're looking out for them,
right,
which then creates trust. And now all of a sudden you become omnipresent.
Right. So there's 2 types that I see in social media. There's the infotainment, which is the education piece. And there's entertainment, which is the funny piece, like you mentioned. So you're blending both, right?
Yep.
But it's hard. It's an art. So what would you recommend for somebody that maybe isn't the funniest person on the planet, but wants to get into the entertainment space?
Absolutely. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to break this down to a science for everybody. So if you're watching this, you're an entrepreneur, and you're like, hey, how can I market myself without spending any money? I'm literally going to break this down for you. So here's 3 marketing stats that everybody should know. The average person spends about 2.5 hours a day on social media. Now, that may not sound like much. Over the course of a year, that's 864 hours, which is the equivalent to 36 full days a year. That's what these people are spending on these platforms. So it's wildly effective if you can do this correctly. But you can't just post, because average person sees 4,000 to 10,000 advertisements every single day. And the attention span of a human being, according to Microsoft, is 8.25 seconds. So anything that's worth saying is worth saying briefly. So the science here is, if you want to use humor in your marketing, it's actually not about being funny. It's about creating a connection, because people do business with those who they know, like, and trust. And you heard me say earlier, half of the battle marketing is getting noticed, the other half is getting remembered. What happens is when people laugh, they usually remember what made them laugh. So if you want to use humor in your marketing, here's a free way to do it. Go to imageflip.com and make a meme. A meme, literally a picture with a caption, but it's a short headline that is straight, concise, and to the point. But the thing is, you can turn it into an advertisement. And when it's an advertisement and people find it funny, they might share it, and now they just passed your business card along, but in a cool way. So the blend is, though, you can't just post memes all day. I made that mistake. People exchange money to solve problems, so you have to let the audience know, all jokes aside, I can actually help you. Now, when you use education in your marketing, you can politely say to your audience, hey, if you're the kind of person that's experiencing this, let's talk. Now, if you provide content, in your case, hey, if you're the kind of person that's looking to refi and take out cash to pay off some debt, here's a few things that you should know about that process. You've now provided value, and they might raise their hand. So when you blend that with education and humor, what ends up happening is your audience says, hey, this person's cool, but like all jokes aside, they're actually looking out for me. So by combining humor and education, you create trust.
Right. So with the market, in the social media market, right, it's evolving at such a fast pace. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Are the memes still working?
They absolutely.
And what's the difference between memes and video? Like, I've kind of gotten away from that. And I'll just be honest. I've gotten away from stills and maybe family photos a little bit, just because that brings people in. But when it comes to just standard stills and not the video piece, I found that it falls off as far as measuring it. So what I've tried to do is just go strictly video with everything recently. And where I put my pictures and family pictures are in stories, because it doesn't last long.
Yeah, so video is far more powerful than stills. No ifs, no ands, no buts, plain and simple. I would go that route. However, now the limiting beliefs kick in, depending on who's listening to this. Not everybody's comfortable getting on camera. My response to that is get over it, do a video anyways, because if you're scared to do it, your competition's likely scared to do it. Go that route. But also, that's where the creative block comes in. Now, if you want to go on video and you're like, hey, what should I do as far as ideas? There's nothing stopping you from going on ChatGPT or Google Gemini and saying, give me 10 video ideas for a blank industry to promote blank product or service using humor, and see what it says. So that takes the creative block out of it, because if you look at AI from a standpoint of employees, man, it's the best employee that you don't have to pay for.
Right. Yeah. So the last time you and I spoke was what, 2 or 3 months ago, right? Was it at the beginning of the year?
I think so. Yeah.
We did a live version of AI, because I call Alan the AI guy. So what has changed from the beginning of 2024 to the middle of 2024, which is this is being recorded? What's changed with AI?
In what regard? Because AI could mean 1,000 different things to 1,000 different people.
Well, like we were talking about before the show, I just showed you that AI Bible, the Instagram, and just that, like going back to like visuals of what AI can create to attract people, like that just put a whole different picture on scripture that wasn't there before. So like to see Moses parting the sea. So just to see that is amazing. It puts a visual. My brother used to do this with Rembrandts and to a Sunday school, is to take old paintings and show the picture of what the scripture was like in Bible studies. But to have AI do it now, it's like flooring to see what the interpretation is of that. So I guess my point is that's a new thing that I've been attracted to. What is like from the beginning, we were talking about just at the beginning that it was creating a text to picture, but now it's going into video. People are actually doing video, like where you can replace you. If you were afraid to be in front of the camera, all you need to do is type it and then it'll create you as a video avatar.
Yeah, so there's a whole bunch that's actually changed from when we originally spoke about this. Starting with the one that's on most people's minds. ChatGPT has, I want to say at this point, received 2 significant software updates to the point where they've actually integrated DALL-E, which is text to image, in ChatGPT. So on the meme example, like let's just say that you wanted to do stills. You can say, give me 10 meme ideas for a realtor to promote listing a home. It'll give you the ideas, and you can then follow that up and say, generate the image that is referenced in each of those examples. You can now do that as opposed to going from here and then going to a different platform. Now, to my knowledge, they haven't opened this up to the public yet, but OpenAI, who owns ChatGPT, is launching something called Sora, which is text to video. So I'm under the understanding that that is basically stock video at that point. So if you wanted to take whatever, you used earlier, Moses parting the Red Seas or something that is just way out there, you can do it and see what it says. It'll come back with a high resolution video. That's my understanding. Now, on the subject of avatars, here's where things get real dicey. There's something called synthesia. Synthesia is basically text to avatars. So you can have a script, whether you wrote it, whether ChatGPT wrote it, you can upload it to that, and you can pick from one of like 100 different avatars that look and talk just like real people in different languages, but you can also create your own. Now, I haven't personally used it yet for creating my own avatar, but just know, things in the history of the world have never moved this fast, but they'll also never move this slow again. So the next 6 months, I have no idea what's around the corner, but we know it's moving at warp speed.
Wow. It's crazy. Crazy.
So the question becomes, is this good or is it bad?
That is the question I had in my head, so thank you for asking.
Are the robots coming for your jobs? Absolutely. People at the end of the day, businesses, they want to raise revenue and lower expenses. This presents a solution to both of those. However, at the end of the day, if it does put you out of work, just know if you want to put on that entrepreneur hat, it's actually never been easier for you to start a business because you can get the ideas for a marketing plan, for the messaging, for the content, all of that by leveraging AI, which is your best employee that you don't have to pay for. But it will put a new value of authenticity on stuff like this because people don't buy from brands. They buy from the people that represent those brands.
So starting out with teaching somebody how to be an entrepreneur, how do you, if somebody was like working at McDonald's, right, which is mind-blowing to say the least right now, they're going completely AI, right?
Yeah.
You go there, you don't see a human in some cases.
Right.
So you're having to deal with a computer. And I think there was another place that doesn't even have, was that a Taco Bell that you were talking about before? Yeah, McDonald's robot, yeah. So just crazy to think. So somebody like that, what ideas would you give them, or maybe ChatGPT would give them? Like, what entrepreneurial ideas would you have? Is that what you would suggest for them?
Absolutely. So here's what I would do. Literally, if you're watching this and you fit that profile, here's the easiest way to get started. Figure out what it is that you want to sell. So that could be a car, that could be a DJ service, it could be some sort of product. Literally go on ChatGPT and say, what are 5 problems that would cause someone to consider purchasing blank product or service? Because if people exchange money to solve problems, we've just now reverse engineered how the phone will likely ring. But then you can follow that up and say, give me an audience that is most likely to experience each of those problems. So now you have pain points that make the phones ring, and you know who likely experiences that pain point. And from there, all you really have to do is say, give me 10 different content ideas to promote blank service to blank audience that experiences blank problem. There's all your market research. We're talking, man, 2 minutes or less. This is stuff that freelancers and small businesses used to have to pay big money to market research companies. You can now just do this from your laptop. Right. So that's personally what I would do. As far as the creative, you know what? AI can make these things, or you can go on free websites like Canva and look at, simple templates and make them your own.
Yeah. And I think you can also relate this to kids, raising your kids. If you're not raising your kids to be an entrepreneur in this world, I think you're selling yourself short.
For sure. At the end of the day, the most dangerous thing in life is trying to avoid danger. If you take a path just seeking stability, but the market is what the market is, and that path that you took chose not to be the right one, you know what? Now you have all of this financial debt that you've taken on that may or may not be worth anything. I mean, you take a look at this, for example, is right now the trades. There's a huge shortage of workers that's in the trades. So you have all of these people that, went to school and sought, a bachelor's, a master's, or potentially even a doctorate that may or may not align with the field that they went into, may or may not be excited about the field that they decided to go into, but they still have this huge obligation that they have to pay back. Maybe to make, let's just say, starting 70, 80, 100 grand a year, you have people that went into the trades with minimal financial debt that went straight into the workforce that are making big money. Who's right? Who's wrong? Who's smart? Who's stupid? The market is what the market is because it exchanges money to solve problems. You know, if you have a massive amount of the population that has the exact same degree, it doesn't mean it's like bad or anything. It just means simple supply and demand. If you can get the same skill sets so many different ways, well, what is the market willing to pay for it?
Well, it sounds like the trades guys need to talk to you because
I see what you did there.
because, well, you could blend both, you know, like if you had somebody, if somebody's got the marketing ability. I thought about this with my lawn guy. I'm like, man, I could get you so much business, but he's already got a great referral base. You know, he's got his own. It wasn't social media or anything like that. It was just, hey, I got a guy. You know, so but if you had somebody you wanted to build a business around, that's a great opportunity for anybody that's got an entrepreneurial spirit. Pick up somebody that's really gifted in the trades and build a business from there.
For sure. And here's what's interesting: as somebody who attends a lot of networking events, we're talking usually 2 to 3 a week is what I'm going to. You don't see too many people that are in the trades that go to these. Why is that? A lot of them really don't need the business right now. And if they do, you know what? That's great. They're out there, you know, making relationships in the community, but you don't see a heavy presence of them that are, you know, out and about at Chamber of Commerce events.
All right. So you mentioned earlier before we even got on, you said, hey, look, I have this attention deficit disorder. How do you maintain your attention? Like what goes on with that?
You know, here's the funny thing about ADD and ADHD.
ADHD, right? Yeah.
You can go.
Okay. Wait, did we get your attention?
I see what you did there. Here's the interesting thing, though. ADHD is truly a superpower, and I will argue this until I'm blue in the face. As somebody who was diagnosed with ADHD at a very young age, we're talking, I want to say 4 or 5 years old, I had a label that was slapped on myself where I thought I was less than. Now, what's interesting about the world that we live in is everybody's quick to point the finger at the kid and say, hey, the kid can't pay attention, but nobody really says, can the teacher hold somebody's attention? Now, what I found is years went on, and I got into the DJ world, I got into sales, and now speaking. That's a blessing. Everybody thinks the kid is less than if he can't pay attention. But what ends up happening is you need to switch the music every 90 seconds to a couple minutes when you're a DJ. Now you're able to keep tabs on everything. I'm able to do a networking event and keep tabs on the music, entertain people, make introductions, all of that as a result of me having ADD. When I get up on stage and I'm in front of 70, 100, 150 people, I know that people will tune out very quickly unless I drop a couple dad jokes in, I keep things interesting, whatever it is. I'm constantly watching people's body language. And that's the best part. Truly, I feel ADD and ADHD is a blessing. No need for medication. Just channel it in the right direction.
Yeah, I agree. I think the one thing you mentioned that, and I think social media teaches us this too, is that you have to get something quick, a hook.
Yep.
Because if you don't, you're going to lose people. Because I think it's also conditioning more and more people to lose their attention. Look at like you mentioned earlier, we were at 8.2. Well, I thought it was less. I thought it was like more 6. But that's whatever, Google, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, so 2 stats. If you go on Google, I think this study was done, you know, in 2015 or 2016. Average attention span then, 8.25 seconds. Here's what's interesting, though, and I share this with my clients all the time, the 2-second rule on social media. If you go on Facebook and you were to type in, what is the attention span on Facebook, there was a study that was done that shared 1.7 seconds is what the average user spends on a piece of content on mobile, and I want to say it's like 2.3 seconds on a desktop. So quick, short, concise, and to the point will do you a massive, massive advantage versus your competition.
Yeah, so you having that, and I know I have it too, because I just know, because I'll sit there and I don't even remember what you just said, but either way, it's one of those things where if I get on there and I literally know that somebody's got the glasses, like you can see their eyes just turn off, then I know that I'm boring. I know, like you mentioned earlier, you watch people's body, their response to how you're talking. If you're not paying attention, then you've lost people. So you have to be, what I would say is frame the picture. So like, hey, I got 2 points to make, or This is the biggest problem in our industry right now. You need to listen. Those are things that are catching people's attention to keep them longer. But every time I look at my videos on Reels, guess what? After 3 seconds, huge fall off. So I agree. I think if you're not hitting it right on the money, you're losing people.
But look at where that's also a benefit. Prime example. This is a pretty loose format on this podcast, which is great because it's authentic. And if we both didn't have that, well, then we would probably have analysis paralysis. And this box has to get checked off here. This question needs to be done here. But we just showed up and we did it. And there's a lot of people that wouldn't show up without a plan.
True. And that's the other thing, too, is I know a lot of people script things, and I cannot do it. I don't know what it is. But I know people, like a lot of agents out there. I got a great agent friend of mine that does scripts. She can shoot 5 videos in a matter of 20 minutes because it's scripted. I can't do it. I don't know why. Is it because of the ADHD?
Well, you know what? If you work best impromptu, which a lot of salespeople do, because sales is a very reactional industry. You know, you say something, prospect says this, you're able to just show up and do it without much thought, which is actually a lot less stressful of a way to go about things. So I'm all about it.
With all that being said, I really appreciate you coming on. I got 3 questions for you. These are random kind of speed dating questions, even though we're not dating, but these are speed questions. What if you could have dinner with anybody today, whether it be past, present, future, who would it be?
Dinner with anybody today? Probably Dan Bongino.
Dan Bongino. Who's that?
Dan Bongino, political commentator.
Yeah.
Has his own TV show.
Nice. Dan? He's looking for you. What would you ask him?
Let's put it this way: view on the employment market. I would highly encourage you to, listen to his TV show. He's just the guy that I've always wanted to
Really?
grab lunch, dinner with.
That's awesome. Speaking of lunch and dinner, if you could have any food right now, what would it be?
Any food. All right.
What's your favorite food?
My electric chair meal, let's just say, is a Neapolitan-style pizza.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Pizza guy.
Pizza guy.
Is there a certain day of the week that you usually eat pizza?
Usually a couple times a month. I mean, I try not to. Let's put it this way: the craft beer and the networking events, are not the easiest on the waistline, so I try to limit that.
Well, I married an Italian. We have it every Friday night. So
oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. If you could be anywhere in the world, like is there a dream place that you could just picture yourself? If money wasn't an object and you could just be there today, where would it be?
I would love to check out the Maldives. I'd also love to check out Monaco. Yeah, as far as actually living there, totally different, but I've always wanted to check it out.
That's awesome. So I'm turning 50. I hate even saying this. I'm turning 50 this year. So we're looking for a place to go to. And Maldives was always on a bucket list just because I got a drone and I'd love to get some shots and video, and it just always looks like paradise.
Oh, it's beyond beautiful. I mean, you see pictures, it just doesn't even look real.
Have you ever talked to anybody that's been there?
Yeah, actually, the guy who helped make the introduction for the Real Producer events, Danny and Sabrina Glover went there for their honeymoon, so we were talking about it.
Really?
Yeah.
How long is did they tell you how long the flight is?
Oh, I'm sure it's not pretty. You're probably looking at 16 to 18 hour ordeal.
Actually, I did check that out. My wife was like, no, not at all. I'm like, well,
yeah,
another life. I'll just have to do an AI.
You just have to do that. You got to look at the screensaver.
Yeah, right. Well, I appreciate it, man. We'll do this again, and thank you so much for joining us and taking time out of your busy schedule to be here. And is there a place where people can find you if they wanted to get into some of the stuff that you're offering with your business?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're interested, connect with alanstern.com. That's my digital business card. All the social media handles are on there. And then I just want to give away something for free as well. Just for the young entrepreneur that's like, hey, how can I market myself on a shoestring budget? If you go to dropsomeheat.com, I explain how you can blend humor, education, adding value, and trust all into your marketing style. And you can meet somebody in person one time, add them across social media, and over time they warm up to you. So get a free 30-minute video. It'll literally show you how to do everything from scratch if you're interested in checking it out.
Awesome. Well, there you have it. If you want to learn how to brand yourself, Alan's the guy to talk to. We'll see you on the next episode.
Appreciate you.